With the NBA quite possibly being at its very dullest right now, the only quote-unquote hot topic that has yet to be resolved is the Ben Simmons 76ers saga that's been going on for a few months now. It's no secret that after a failed playoff run and Simmons clearly showing that he was scared of scoring the ball, he was done as a 76er. The question was, where would he be traded to? At first, it was big names like the Warriors or Trailblazers, but now it's been narrowed down to names like the Cavaliers and my Timberwolves. There are so many things wrong with the Ben Simmons situation, but today we will be taking a look at why the Simmons Timberwolves trade makes absolutely no sense to me and many others. But it might not be because of the reasons you think. But before we get into all of that, if you've been enjoying the videos lately, it would be absolutely clutch if you subscribed if you're new and join the Woods crew. We are trying to get past the 10,000 subscriber milestone before the next NBA season begins on October 19th. And despite it being September now, we can still hit that goal if everyone who watches the content consistently hits that subscribe button. So if you get any value or entertainment out of the Woods Hoops channel, join the community and drop a sub. But with that being said, let's talk Timberwolves. In the past couple of seasons, ever since acquiring a new president of basketball operations in Jerson Rosas, the Timberwolves have been fearless when it comes to making signings to try and win now, especially because of a somewhat disgruntled Karl Towns. Sure, some of these weren't the best in the world, like losing a valuable pick and now flourishing Wiggins in a D'Lo trade. But hey, that's not as bad as what the previous front office did, trading away Zach LaVine for a one-year Jimmy Butler rental and Robert Covington. But that's besides the point, because Rosas has made it very clear that he will do whatever he thinks is best to get the Timberwolves team a good roster around Cat. Despite nearly turning the roster inside out and throwing a #1 overall pick in the mix, Rosas is not done yet, being that the Timberwolves are reportedly, quote, desperate to get Ben Simmons, or at least are very interested in doing so. I mean, at first glance, this actually does make sense. I mean, Ben Simmons is one of the better young players potential-wise, and he brings the defense this Wolves team needs badly, and when I say badly, I mean it, and the stats don't lie. Last season, the Minnesota Timberwolves had the 3rd worst defensive rating in the league, only behind the Portland Trailblazers and Sacramento Kings, who are literally a train wreck on that side of the ball. The Wolves also gave up the 3rd most second chance points despite having one of the better bigs in the league. So Simmons would be someone to trade for in order to improve where needed, right? Well, despite this seeming like the right move, I can't help but feel that not only would this be a big mistake, but it also makes no sense for the Wolves for a few reasons. One of those being what they would have to give up. If you haven't been keeping up with the Ben Simmons saga, let me keep it short and sweet. The Philadelphia 76ers are trying to fleece whatever team they can for Simmons despite his value being at an all-time low. Sure, Simmons is still a great player, but recency bias is everything, and being that the man is likely the most hated person in Philly at the moment, other teams know that Daryl Morey and the rest of the front office have no leverage for this move. Yet, the Sixers aren't budging. Despite no team wanting to get finessed by a huge Simmons package so far, the 76ers are still very firm in that they want to get a James Harden type package for Simmons. The problem here is, well, Simmons is no James Harden. Now I get that last year when James Harden wanted out, his value was at an all-time low, but let's not act like Simmons is even close to the same level as Harden, who is literally in arguments for the best overall offensive guard in the league alongside Steph Curry, Luka, and similar names. The 76ers front office needs to face the truth that they will not be getting a package that the Rockets got, and in fact, they'll be taking a lot less because of the lack of leverage they have. This isn't where the issues for this possible trade ends though, because even though Simmons' asking price has decreased compared to what it was, he is still a very valuable piece that would require significant assets to trade for his salary alone, and the Wolves in my eyes just don't have what it takes to get the deal done without giving up something huge. In order for the Simmons trade to work, I believe the Wolves would in fact have to either include Anthony Edwards or D'Angelo Russell in a trade package, because the 76ers are clearly still contending, so they want good talent in return. In my eyes, even though it may be tempting for some reasons, the Wolves would be out of their minds if they made this trade, because people forget that we have barely even seen the duo of Cat and Russell play together, in particular because of all the injuries they've faced, let alone the trio including Edwards, who will only continue to get better and better. I'm not exaggerating when I say this duo hasn't had much time together either, because in the first year since D'Lo joined the team, he and Karl Towns only played 5 games together. Yes, 5. Now, it did get a little better last season, and the Wolves actually won some games towards the end of the season once everyone was healthy, which leads me to ask, why would this team make a trade for Simmons when they literally just traded for Russell? I mean, the D'Lo-Cat duo clearly has flaws defensively, but this team literally just traded very valuable assets for him, and we haven't even been able to see if he can return to his all-star form. Arguing for the other side, many have been saying that because of the defensive upside and the fact that Simmons is on a 4-year deal, this makes the trade well worth it. But again, I just have to argue that this isn't the case. Sure, Simmons is on a great contract with longevity, but how do you think Cat is going to feel when the Wolves trade away his best friend that he wanted in the first place? Probably not great. But what if I told you that the Timberwolves actually offered D'Lo and other assets for Simmons? According to Shams, who is one of the most reputable sources in the NBA world, the Timberwolves reportedly offered D'Angelo Russell, Malik Beasley, and Jaden McDaniels for Ben Simmons, and the 76ers declined. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I think that Daryl Morey is pushing his luck, because unless Damian Lillard or Bradley Beal demands a trade, you can't really get any more win now assets than what this package has. I mean, D'Lo has shown that he can be an all-star guy and probably a solid second option if he's healthy. Beasley is one of the best spark plugs in the league after watching him firsthand, and McDaniels has the potential to become a stud two-way wing, especially a couple of years down the road. The bottom line is, the 76ers are asking way too much for Ben Simmons, and I believe that it'll come back to bite them sooner than we think. And there have been some reports coming out that already prove my point correct. It was recently reported that Ben Simmons has no intent on joining the 76ers for training camp or the regular season, and he is ready to force his way out of Philly. This is where things get interesting for the 76ers, because as each day passes and training camp gets closer and closer, the 76ers are losing a crucial thing, that being leverage. If Simmons really isn't coming to training camp and is willing to take a $250,000 fine for every day he misses, then the 76ers will be scrambling to trade him before the NBA season begins on October 19th, which could cause them to get a bad return for the trade. But in the case that this occurs, this is really the only way that analysts and Timberwolves fans see Simmons joining the team. But what if I told you that the odds of this happening are, well, unlikely to say the least? What I mean by that is the Timberwolves are in a very tough spot with their salaries when it comes to making a move for Simmons, because of the trades they just made. If you didn't know, this team made some somewhat minor moves getting guys like Patrick Beverley and TAUREAN Prince, who are solid additions, but it might come back to haunt the Wolves because it will prevent them from making a Simmons trade at all. To put it simply, if the Timberwolves want to take on a $33 million Ben Simmons, they would have to ship off Prince or Beverley alongside Beasley to make the money work. But that's the problem, the team can't do that. Patrick Beverley and TAUREAN Prince have a recently traded clause, which, if you weren't aware, basically makes it so teams can't instantly flip assets in a bigger trade package for someone like Simmons. In this case, Patrick Beverley and Prince cannot be traded in a package for the next 60 days, only individually, which obviously wouldn't work for the 76ers. This means that unless the Wolves include a D'Lo in the trade for Simmons, it literally is not possible, because Simmons will most definitely not be traded before Pat Bev and Prince are available in late October. But even though this might seem like the ultimate reason why the Wolves shouldn't make this trade, that's not even where it ends, because even if Simmons were to join the Timberwolves through a Russell trade, in my eyes, it would end poorly because of one thing and one thing only, that being the development of Ben Simmons' jump shot. Obviously, any team that wants to trade for Simmons knows that he's the best defending point guard in the league, but they also know that he's one of the worst offensive guards as well. With that being said, any team that is interested in Ben Simmons would have the belief they could develop him into something great on the offensive end. And honestly, as a Timberwolves fan, I just don't think this can happen, and it would end up hurting the team in the long run. It's no secret that the Timberwolves team doesn't have the best player development. I mean, sure, Cat became one of the better big men in the league, but he was dominant straight out of college, so the team really didn't have to do that much. But if you look at any of the other Wolves picks in the past 7 years, you would see that this team has struggled to unlock their players' full potential. In fact, I would go as far as saying that nearly every player drafted by the Wolves got significantly better once they left the team. Starting off in 2014, the Timberwolves were able to snag two great young talents in Andrew Wiggins and Zach LaVine, who both had tremendous potential, yet both of them hit the ceiling with the Wolves and eventually led to them getting traded. But after being traded, LaVine became one of the best scoring guards in the league, and Wiggins is one of the most consistent offensive players and best perimeter defenders in the league as well. Now, these are the two biggest examples, but even looking back at guys like Chris Dunn, Tyus Jones, and even guys that are still on the team like Josh Okogie, these players have made little to no progression with the Wolves, and then tend to do much better when they leave the team and unlock their true potential. Think about it this way, if the Wolves would have kept the trio of LaVine, Wiggins, and Cat together and actually developed them into what they became, along with the young core of Chris Dunn and Tyus Jones off the bench, they wouldn't even have to worry about a Ben Simmons trade right now because they would very well be contenders. And they wouldn't have lost so many assets and draft picks in the process. I'm not one to play the what if game, but I did have to make the point that the Timberwolves development team is far from good. And if they make a move for Simmons, I believe that it would end up in little to no improvement for him, and the Wolves would also make little to no progress in their playoff goals. At the end of the day, the Simmons trade is not only unlikely, but it makes no sense for the Timberwolves, or even the 76ers if there are better offers out there. I believe this team is a solid core, and they just need to stay healthy to see what the trio of Cat, D'Lo, and Ant is truly capable of. If you enjoyed this video, it would be greatly appreciated if you hit that like button and subscribe if you're new and join the Woods crew. But other than that, thank you all so much for watching, I'll catch you all on the next one, Woods out.